All right, I think I made it. I am so sorry I'm late. It's a 50-year-old man trying to use technology and did not work so well. So I apologize for that. Try to bring this microphone a little closer to me. Had to go to a different camera, um, which is not working perfectly. I have another camera that I could not get to work that I like a little bit better. So here we are. This is going to be, I'm going to have to make a few adjustments because I've not used this camera for this purpose before. Guess you're used to seeing me with glasses on, so I'll put my glasses on. Can't see the computer sometimes with my glasses on. I couldn't. Anyway, sorry I'm late. I apologize. Let me make some adjustments to the camera and we'll kind of get started. I'm a little flustered right now with what is going on with my equipment here. Let's see here. Try to zoom in a little bit. Try to focus this thing. That's a little bit better. Not great. Let me bring the camera down a little bit. My goodness. I apologize. Still learning how to do all this. And still could probably get a little closer. Not that you really want to see me, because I don't think you really do. That's not bad. Not as good as my other camera would have been, but it'll work for today. I will continue to get better at this, and hopefully I'll provide you guys with some the ability to ask me some questions and things like that. Let me bring it down just a little bit more here. Now it's crooked. I suck at this so bad. It's what I get for being over 50 years old and trying to use technology. We're in my office right now here at the business of one of the businesses that I own. And so anyway, welcome into the live program. I'm sorry. Like I said, I keep apologizing, but I will get better at this. Had an interesting week this week. Started early on, it started last Thursday. One of the videos that I posted was about my daughter shooting 810. And she's 20 years old. She's been bowling for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, really. She was more interested in basketball and things like that when she was growing up, and picked up bowling her freshman year in high school. And she became very good. She was always been very athletic, and she picked up bowling, I guess 6, 7 years ago, and really had some immediate success. She won a JBT pretty early when she was maybe a sophomore or a junior. She won her first JBT handicap division, then won a girls scratch division, and then went to state a couple of times in high school bowling. Then she ended up winning the Texas State singles and Texas State all events, and placed 6th in team and 6th in doubles. And she's just had some really good success. And earlier last month, she bowled in another JBT, and the pattern was really, really hard. And the kids were all playing it absolutely the wrong way and made it even harder. And she shoots 198 one game and goes from 11th to 12th. And the average was about 182, 183 to stay in the cut. She shoots 193 her last game. She thinks she's out of the cut, and she ends up placing 6th. Drops one with a 198, and then picks up 6 spots with a 193. Ended up not doing well in match play, but she ended up winning the girl scratch. And then followed it up the next day with a pattern that was not going to be good with her. And she needed to throw the ball harder and that's just not her game. She's a little lower ball speed, but a lot higher rev rate. And we just didn't think that she was going to have a chance. She ended up making the cut on Sunday, and yes, we are talking about Mrs. 800. That would be Tori Berger. And anyway, so on Thursday, uh, she uh, she shot 279 the first game, 278 with a wraparound 300. They ended Barapapa 300. Matter of fact, I think she had 13 in a row, and she split in the third game and still shot 253, and that was enough to shoot 810 for 3 games. She had, if you watch the video, you got to watch the end when I go berserk, with good reason, going berserk. And she has no idea why I was going crazy. She struck in the 9th, and if she struck in the 10th, which is what I was praying for, I didn't want her to leave a 10 pin in the 10th. First ball in the 10th, I wanted it to get it over with, and she struck the first ball in the 10th, and I go bananas. And she has no idea why her daddy is going crazy. I couldn't bowl from the mid part of the second game through the third game. I was a wreck, and I ended up shooting 672, which, considering all that was going on, I kind of think it was pretty good. And you'll see at the end of the video, I have to finish the video out because I'm assuming you guys want to see what I do. And I grab my ball and I'm like, I don't think I can throw this. And I couldn't. My fingers are swollen up. My hands were sweaty. I had to use something I'd never used, which is rosin, to try to dry out my hands. And was concerned I was going to get the ball off my hand. Didn't really do that very well, and still picked up my spare, and then got 9 on the last ball, shooting, I don't remember what I shot, 216, I think, but shot 672. So it's not bad for an old man. Certainly not an 800, and that is absolutely amazing. So that's what I had on Thursday. My daughter shoots 810. And then on Friday night, my son is the head basketball coach of a small school in this area. It's his first year to be a head coach, and he has made the playoffs. And they were having a playoff game in a little town outside of here, was the regional final game. And as a first-year head coach, he ended up winning that game and moved on to the state semifinals. And so that was pretty exciting. Something I learned today about my son that I didn't know is first-year head coach. He's only been coaching for 3 years, first year as a head coach, and he was voted on as coach of the year for his district. So he was also voted by the district to coach the All-Star team. So all of that was really exciting on Friday and Saturday. My daughter shoots 810. My son wins his regional final game. And I know I'm bragging here, but my youngest daughter, she wrote an article about one of her teachers. She's a senior in high school and ended up getting them published. So that was kind of cool. And then Monday night, my son finished up in the state semifinals and lost by 5 and did not go to state. So I've had a really interesting weekend and week, and going into the spring break season, I'm glad for a little time off from having to do things. So I'm real proud of my kids. We've got a few people online right now, not a ton, but a few. If you have any questions for me, looks like the guys from Theory versus Skill Pro Shop. The gentleman, we did have a video come out on Monday about ball drilling, and that gentleman looks like he's online right now. So if you have any questions about that video, feel free to ask him. He's bowled on the regional PBA tour. It's done very, very well. He's also a USBC silver level coach. I mentioned that in the video. And he is an IPSIA master driller. And he's the guy I turn to drill all of my equipment. And he's really good at what he does, and he puts up with me, which is probably a lot to take because you would think I would know more about how balls are laid out to get them to do what I want them to do, and gaining the numbers off the bowling ball to be able to figure out how I want that bowling ball drilled. But I'm still not very good at it. That's an understatement. I am horrible at it. Um, and so I end up trying to make balls do what they're not designed to do. But he does a really good job at keeping me under wraps and keeping me doing drilling the balls the right way and just making me have to get more bowling balls to fill gaps in my arsenal. Coming up, let's see, tomorrow is Thursday. So coming up on Friday, we have another drill video that will be coming out on Friday about noon Central. And so I encourage you to go and watch that video. It's a drill that I do when I'm practicing and when I'm warming up. It's a drill that I teach the high schoolers. I always say that the high schoolers, if they don't like something, that must mean it's working. And this is a drill that they are not a big fan of, as well as the low ball drill that we put online a week or so ago. And so if it's working, they don't like it. A little harder to do for two-handers to do a no-step drill, but I've had some people do no-step two-handed. It's easier for them to do at least a one-step drill. And we have that video coming out, I don't know, later on this month, I think. Did go by and shoot a few videos that we're going to put in place of a little earlier. I have some videos with my daughter, which will be fun. I think that one may come up next week, I hope. And was editing a video today that is going to be coming out in April that I think you're going to find interesting. It just proves how stupid I really am when it comes to the numbers of a bowling ball and how bowling balls actually work and how they're made and what they're expected to do when you get them. And so it's fun. I ended up with one of my good friends, if not my best friend, Bill Wood, who is a engineer, one of the smartest men that I know, and I even say that in the video. He's just he thinks things out. He's my father was an engineer, and he had no common sense whatsoever. Bill, on the other hand, is a very smart man with a ton of common sense, and really, I wish he would have helped me with this video a little bit. He did quite the opposite. He just sat back there and watched me flounder around and laugh at me. And when I said, I can't believe that ball did that, he went, well, I knew it was going to do that. And it got a little frustrating. He won't go on camera. I cannot get him to put a microphone on, which is sad for you guys because we had some off the air conversations that I wish were mic'd up because I think you would have been very interested in what Bill had to say about ball movement and a way a ball is constructed. But again, that video will come out first part of April, I believe. Got league tomorrow. I'm thinking about filming. I have several people in the comments that want me to do it live. And just to be fair, we have some people on our team that may not want to be filmed and certainly not put broadcast. And so I don't know if doing it live would be the smart play for me. I think it would probably hinder our team a little bit. I think they would be a little self-conscious. So if I do film, I will be editing that and I'll put it on that line that way if you are interested. Again, we got just a handful of people. I know it's 5:30 in the afternoon. I'm doing this live because I'm still trying to learn how to do this whole YouTube thing. And I thought do a couple live shows just to give people the chance for me to clarify anything that they've seen on a video or have any questions, and then try to clarify some things on my own if there's things that need clarifying. So we will go back to the ball drilling video. I think that's an important video, and it's not for the information that you got. It's although we gave you some information about pitches and how they look and feel, and that's really not the point of that video. The point of that video is bowling shouldn't hurt. We have had a lot of people that are over 50 who have commented about having pain in their wrist, having pain in their hand, their elbow. And the first place I'm always going to turn to when people have questions about that or concerns about that is how the ball fits. And the reason why I start there is because I experienced it. I mentioned it in the video when in the 70s and 80s, when you went to a fingertip grip, and it wasn't really a full fingertip, but we called it a semi. There were actually fingertip people out there that barely put their fingers in the ball, just the tip of their finger. And so that has kind of gone away. And a semi fingertip, which we now call fingertip, is what's more prevalent. And but one of the things that we did is we wanted to expand out our hand as far as we could. We did pitch our thumb away so we could get out of the ball, but the goal was to keep your fingers in the ball as long as possible. And we thought by expanding your hand all the way out in a bowling ball, that was going to give you more hook. Turns out, as you get older, your hand does shrink some, and by expanding your hand out there, it can cause a lot of pain, and it did for me. I had to wear a wrist brace for a few years because my wrist just hurt. And so I got with Bill and I got with Stefan, and we worked. We came to the conclusion that one, I needed to make my span shorter. And so we did that, and we went to an oval thumb, which back in the old days was not really prevalent, and not many people knew how to do that. And so by shortening my span, some of my wrist pain went away. Didn't all go away. And then we've gone through a couple iterations of my span and shortening up my ring finger. And that was kind of more of what we did. I think my index finger, my middle finger, has been the same since we shortened the span, but my ring finger has shortened again to try to relieve some of the wrist pain. And after we got the span fixed, my thumb fixed, I haven't had any wrist pain in years. And that's certainly a blessing. I wish I could show you my thumbs, and I'll try to, well, stick them out there. I used to have a gigantic bump on this thumb, right there. And that was from being so expanded out, and that round thumb with my hand so expanded, I ended up with a gigantic bump right here. And it's still kind of there today, but it is, I mean, this thumb is in great shape. And now my thumbs, I wish you could see that. Maybe I can back up a little bit. There we go. All right. They're about even. I mean, this thumb is obviously smaller, but they are about even. And my thumb holes haven't gotten bigger. As a matter of fact, the last few interchangeable thumbs that I have had drilled have actually been smaller. We've been going smaller and smaller and smaller. And that is because of the way my span is now, the pitches that we've put in the ball, and having my thumb being oval and pitched in the right direction has really improved what my thumb looks like. I've bowled a few tournaments that have a lot of games in them, and I used to carry 4 or 5 different thumbs with different sizes. So as I went along in a block, that I could change my thumb out to a bigger thumb as my thumb swelled. Well, I haven't bowled that many tournaments since those days. I've bowled a few, 8 games times 2, and I'm still using the same thumb that I started with. So going back to the video, that is the reason why that I think that video is so important, because it happened to me. I I was tearing, I was ripping, I was swelling, and just by making a few changes in the way my ball was drilled, I'm out of my wrist brace. My wrist doesn't hurt. I still wear um, a little deal on my wrist, and that I don't need it. I I feel like I don't need it, but it's my security blanket to make sure that that my wrist stays in good shape. The other thing that I put that wrist brace on for, and again, it's not a hand brace, it just goes around my wrist. And the other reason why I have that on there is to remind myself to not break my wrist too early, instead of, keeping my wrist firm or even somewhat cocked before I release the ball. And that little touch of that wrist brace just reminds me how that I need to get my hand and wrist in the right position before I throw the ball. So we don't give the who, the why. We give the whys. We don't give the whats in that video. And so I encourage you to go watch it. I think it's an important video, and uh, because of how it really affected me. And then, well, all right, that's that. So I've got behind me here, I didn't go over the Pete Weber PBA event, but I do have back behind me here is the show from the US Open. And so I think we're going to talk a little bit about that, unless you have any questions. We're gaining people to the channel, to the live stream moment by moment. So if you have any questions or anything you would like to ask me, or I'm assuming Stefan is still somewhere, unless he's drilling a ball right now. He may not be able to constantly watch the chat there, but feel free to chat with me and ask me anything you want to ask me. So I've got the U.S. Open back behind me. We start here with Andrew Anderson and Tim Foy Jr. Two gentlemen that are truly gentlemen. I like both these guys. I haven't been around. I guess I've been around Tim Foy more than I have Andrew. I don't know either one of them at all well. But I'm real proud of what Tim Foy Jr. has done. He has a full-time job, which is smart. Unless you're winning a lot of PBA events, you're not making a ton of money, and so he is a guard in a prison, and he works a lot so he can get out on tour and bowl these 3 or 4 months that these guys are going. And he had a phenomenal season last year. As a two-hander, he's got a lot of revs, got a lot of power, but he's very, very accurate, and he's smart. He's just a very smart guy. And Andrew Anderson, I'm not sure there's anybody that works on their game as hard as Andrew does. He practices a lot. He has really good form for a one-hander, very strong. You can tell he works out. He is kind of like me, in the fact that he is a lot more upright when he delivers the ball, but he is more flexible than I am, and he sets the ball down on the lane very, very smoothly, and it's very impressive. Um, one of the things that I've mentioned in my last live stream and in some of my videos is about head position. and keeping your chin up, your shoulders back. That keeps you from thumb downing the ball. As your chest goes down, you tend to want to pull down the ball with your shoulder, which causes you to your release not to be as good. And well, and you can, if you pull down with your shoulder, you can pull it left, you can push it right. There's a lot of different areas where pulling down with your shoulder can affect how you throw the ball. Well, and it's we had a guy in our comments mention this particular segment talking about the uh, blisters and the fact that Simonson Simo had torn his finger, and that these guys have professional ball fitters and they're still tearing and ripping, and that's true. But most of us, including us that are over 50, are not bowling the amount of games that they're bowling. In the U.S. Open, they bowled on 4 different patterns. First 3 patterns, I believe they're bowling 6 games a day for 3 days on 3 different patterns. And then they went into match play and they were bowling 16 games. And they bowled 54 games before they actually got to the show. As far as I know, not many people in the channel right now are bowling 54 games in 4 days. And if you do that and the rosin that they use, which dries out your hand, you certainly have the opportunity to dry your hand out, rip and tear your skin. And no matter how much a professional has worked on your drill and your span and making sure all of those things are right. Have got a question, Gun Store Viking. Have you noticed drastic changes in lane condition due to the weather? Well, we have in the center that I bowl in, we've noticed drastic changes because they have been fiddling around with oil, and they've gone from they've tried some Brunswick oil, fire and ice from Kegel. I think they were using Curve for a little while, and recently they've gone to Glide. And Glide, this new Glide oil from Kegel, I am really liking. It doesn't, it, I've heard a lot of different things about it, and they're telling me that the oil sticks to the ball more than any of the other oils, but it doesn't move around as much, and there's not as much carry down. And the strange thing that I have found is there is not a ton of transition in 3 games. With some of the Brunswick oils, the fire and ice, and the other oils that I bowled on, transition happens much faster. The oil gets picked up out of the front of the lane, and the ball either absorbs it or they deposits a slight amount down lane. And with this Glide, it's not being absorbed into the ball. The ball is picking up the oil, but it's not absorbing into the ball as bad. And in the front part of the lanes are not getting beat up as bad as they were with some of the other oils. So asking me a question about weather, kind of hard right now because they've been changing oil so much on the lane that I haven't really noticed weather. But here's what I do know is that weather does change the oil. The simple part of it is as weather gets warmer, the viscosity of the oil becomes less. And when the viscosity of the oil becomes less, the lanes tend to look a little slicker earlier, but then dry up faster as it's warm. I don't know if you've ever bowled in a tournament where you're having to switch lanes. And one of the things that are always scary are the end pairs. 1 and 2 or in the end pairs on the other end, because one of those lanes is going to be up against an outside wall. That outside wall will change how that lane plays to some degree. Now, topography of the lane also will change how that lane plays. But the other thing is how cold it is or how warm it is on that outside wall will change how that particular lane that's up against the outside wall, how it will play. So that part I do know. The other thing I also know is that humidity affects the oil and how lanes play. The more humid it is, in theory, the slicker the lanes play. The less humid, the more dry, which is what I deal with in my part of the world. Um, it's drier here, so the lanes will become um, drier faster. The transition comes along a whole lot faster. And I think that's one of the reasons why the center that I'm in is playing around with the oil to try to get it a little bit more stable and trying to find an oil that doesn't transition as bad. I do remember a month or so ago, um, they were using a different kind of oil, and I would move with my feed. I would probably move somewhere between 8 and 10 boards, which is a lot for an old guy. I don't like being in the middle of the lane throwing it to the gutter. I like throwing it to the gutter. I just don't like being what I call in the nosebleed section, which is, left of say 25 with my left foot. Don't enjoy that at all. When I get into the closer to 30 with my left foot, I am not having any fun anymore. And so when the lanes were drying up, I'm having to move way left and trying to find more oil in the middle of the lane. And that's not fun for me. So this new Glide oil looks like it may be an opportunity to eliminate some of that stuff. We'll see how it plays during the summer, and see if that changes the viscosity and changes the way the oil gets picked up by the bowling ball and gets absorbed by the bowling ball. In case you didn't know, reactive resin balls absorb oil. So if you have a ball that is older and you have a lot of games on it, I would encourage you to take it to your local pro shop and have that ball revitalized. There's a couple of ways to do that. They do it with heat. They can do it with a shaking method, where it's micro shakes, drive out some of the oil. And don't recommend you putting your ball in the oven. Um, we used to do that in the old days to try to get some of the oil out of the bowling balls. I never did it personally. It was one of the things people did. I've tried soaking my ball in boiling water, and that doesn't work very well. Best way to do it is take it to a pro shop and let them either bake it or use the little micro shake thing to get some of the oil out of the bowling ball to revitalize that bowling ball, then get it resurfaced. So bowling balls absorb oil. We'll see what Glide does over the summer, and see if it absorbs in the ball a little bit more instead of just getting picked up by the ball. Temp here went up 30 degrees last week. Lanes hooked less. That's kind of what I would figure. And the back ends got very tight. That's what I would figure. But I would also think that transition happened a little bit faster as well. Huge amount of splits on a pair I was on. We experienced the same thing. Yeah, that makes sense. I'd be curious to know what the transition looked like. If you transitioned more because the lanes were hooking less, this means the viscosity of the oil was thinner. And so I'd be curious if your ball picked up more and you had to move a whole lot faster to make sure you were following the transition. The weather right now is just stupid. I just wish it would make up its mind. Is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? It's driving me nuts. That's the part that's driving me nuts. With bowling, I can pretty much deal with anything. I feel at this point in my career, I don't care what the oil is doing all that much. I need to throw it better. Which reminds me, I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. But if you got to move, you got to move. Make sure that when you are throwing your ball down the lane, that you do not take your eyes off the ball. In theory, the ball will tell you when you need to make a move. Now, I've been in situations with some of these different oils where my ball would break free and go left quick and with no warning whatsoever. That does happen. But in general, the ball is going to tell you as it's going down the lane whether it is needing you to find more oil. And that's the whole reason of moving left, is to find more oil. So pay attention to your ball. Do not take your eye off the ball. We have a lot of fun in league where we dance around, and if you've watched our league, we're kind of a little crazy. And sometimes we do not watch the ball until it falls off the end of the pin deck. Not good. We need to be at least watching the ball through the break point, and as it rolls towards the pins, we need to keep an eye on that and find out if it's rolling too early, too late. Is the ball picking up too early? Is it got a wiggle in it that you got some carry down that's becoming an issue? So make sure you keep your eyes on your ball as you throw. I've changed balls midway through the second game. I should have changed after the first game. What was interesting about Thursday night, I started with the Mania, and about midway through game 2, the Mania was just too much ball. It was just hooking too much. We were on 1 and 2, so one of them was a semi-outside pair, semi-outside lane. We were on 1 and 2. One in our house is not completely up against the outside wall, so the weather doesn't affect it as much. There's a corridor that runs down the side of it, so the weather doesn't affect it as much, but one does hook more than 2 generally. And I was having a little problem with the Mania picking up too early and then rolling out too much at the back and just hitting like a marshmallow, as my buddy Bill would say. And I did switch balls. I switched to an Anger, which is a little smaller block, a little bit more angular, a little bit more down lane motion. And I mean, I still shot in the 200s. I did shoot 244, and it's only because I opened in the 10th. I was trying to make sure I stayed with my daughter. She was on a 279 pace. I was on a 279 pace, and my Mania went bananas and really ripped through the face, left me a nasty split. I missed it and shot 244. Again, you say you should have changed balls. Changing balls is interesting. I'm going to resort, if my ball is driving through the pins and it looks good, changing balls is my last resort. If the ball is driving well, then I just want to try to keep moving to find enough oil for that ball to keep doing that. If I don't think it's going to, like I did on Thursday night, which it was no matter how far left I moved, well, that's not true. By moving left, I was probably going to be able to continue to hit the pocket, but I was at that point that my lack of rev rate was going to come into play, and I wanted to just kind of stay where I was. So I went with the Anger, and it looked okay. It didn't look great, but it looked okay. I held good through 2 games, needed to move in the third game. It didn't. Gave away a 600 series. Well, here's my philosophy on moves. If Stefan is still listening to this, he will probably disagree with you, but here's my philosophy on moves. On a house shot, if I move left, the chances of me missing the pocket right, if I keep my moves somewhat normal, if I make a 4 and 2 move left, I'm running the risk of taking 3 off the right. A 1.5 move to the left might keep me in the pocket, but may not be enough to find enough oil in the middle of the lane. So a 2-and-1 move for me probably is not going to take 3 off the right. Most likely going to catch some head pin. So I can deal with a 2-pin. I can deal with a light mixer 7-pin. I can deal with all of that. What I can't deal with is a ball that rips through the face and leaves a big four, or something similar like a 4-7-10 or something along those lines. I would rather be light in the pocket and barely catch the head pin, and by making a bigger move than uh, taking the chance of ripping through the face. With my average, to keep my average where it is, I've got to throw some strikes, and a bigger move left gives me a chance to stay away from the things that will kill scores like splits. So if you think you need to move, then move. And if you think the move is small, then go ahead and make your 1.5 move. If it's a little early and you think, I might be able to throw another shot or two, you can make that 1.5 move left, and it may work out for you. One of the things I've found when I make that move is sometimes I find myself throwing it to the right, getting it to the friction too quickly, and now I've just done what I've attempted not to do, which is split, because I've just ripped through the face. So I encourage you, if you need to make a move, make a big move. 2-1. If you're a low rev guy like me, make your 2-1 move, and just hope you catch head pin. If you have less revs than me, then make your 1.5 move, but make the move early. A 2-pin, a 4-pin is a lot easier to deal with. Even a 2-8 is much easier to deal with than a big 4 or a 4-7-10 or a 2-10 for that matter, or a 4-10 by ripping through the face. So make your moves early. I changed the ball when I saw it didn't finish. Almost left a pocket split, and then got a pocket split. Yeah. Changed the ball when I saw it didn't finish, and almost left a pocket. Well, okay. Yeah. I understand making the ball change. Ball changes for me. This is kind of a funny story. So when I've bowled some PBA events, and again, I haven't bowled many in the last couple of years. Life just kind of hit me in the face, and I had to deal with some work issues and stuff like that. But anyway, so when I was bowling in some regionals, I noticed that if I made a ball change, I would strike every time I made a ball change. So the joke with me was, and then like the next shot would be either me missing terribly, or the ball didn't do what it did on the other lane, and now I'm in the wrong ball again. And so the joke was, or my joke to myself was, I guess I should throw a different ball in every frame. And I take about 21 balls with me to PBA events, so I have enough balls to throw one ball in each frame. But changing balls always seems to work for me. I always seem to strike with the first time, but sometimes I'm going to the wrong ball. So anyway, I just think it's funny. And I've got a video coming up in a couple of weeks about a 3-ball challenge that I do that I think you'll find very interesting. It's one of the things I do in practice quite a little bit. It's I try to bowl games with 3 different balls, helping me trying to get lined up faster. That's kind of part of what I do, and helps me understand my equipment better, because I don't throw everything that I have. In league, I take about 6 balls down to the lane, and I'm sorry to say that I have many, many more than that. And so sometimes I just need to bring these balls out and make sure how they compare to each other in this little 3-ball challenge that I do with myself. Trying to score with the 3 balls in one game, it tends to help me, and helps me understand what my equipment does and how each ball fits within my bag. And so I encourage you to watch that video. It'll come up. I don't know the date in which that comes up, kind of mid-March. And that'll help you understand and how to read your balls and understand what your equipment does, and help you get lined up faster, which even when you're switching balls game, mid league play, you've got to know your equipment really well. For example, on Thursday, throwing the Mania, and then I make a ball change to the Anger. Well, I know the Anger is a smaller core. It goes down the lane a little bit further. It's about the same angularness. It has the same kind of motion that the Mania does, but the Mania is much stronger overall. It hooks a ton. And so instead of staying where I was, I moved to board right, and I struck with it the first time I threw it, and but then I ended up back where I was with the Mania 2 or 3 frames later. But it was a good ball change for me, and it's only because I knew my equipment and knew that Anger was going to do. If I had stayed where I was and still thrown the Anger, I might have missed the head pin altogether, which wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world as long as I don't wash out. Great advice on moves. Thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, making moves. I've and the only reason why I say those things is because these are mistakes that I have made over and over and over. It's not that I'm just super wise. It's because I'm super stupid. Because I have notoriously been the one that would make small moves, and they haven't worked. And I would leave something that's not makeable, and I'm notorious for it. I did it for years, and still to this day, I fight the big move. And again, 2-1 is not a big move, but for us low rev bowlers, a 2-1 move is a big move. 1.5 makes a little bit more sense, but a 2-1 move is a big move for us. And so I have to tell myself it is okay. It is okay if you come up light and you leave a 2-pin. It is okay if you leave a 2-8. What you don't want to leave is a big 4. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to leave a Greek church. You don't want to leave things that are not makeable. So don't be scared about making moves. Hey, Big Johnson, how are you this evening? Been going for about 47 minutes. I went a little too long the last time I was on. I know I can get boring and long-winded. I like to talk. My family thinks I love to hear myself talk, which is completely true. Get me on a microphone in any scenario, and I will monopolize the microphone. Still got the U.S. Open back behind me. I've kind of cleared up most of the questions. Andrew Anderson beat Tim Foy. Then he gets over here in this game, and he completely loses his look. The ball is not driving through the pins, and he's 10-pinning. That left lane ended up being tricky. Typically in this house, that right lane is usually the one that the bowlers have the most trouble with on the TV pair. This time in the U.S. Open, that left lane became the tricky one for them. And so whoever can master that left lane was going to have a good time. And so Andrew Anderson now is getting a piece of the guy with the guns. This guy is a gym rat, and his arms are huge. He's got an interesting style of two-handed. He doesn't swing it as much as like Tim Foy Jr. was doing. It's more in line, which if I was going to be a two-hander, this is kind of what I would want to look like. It's very straightforward, and he's strong enough to be able to do this without having to really open up his hips a ton. And he just swings that thing back and forward. Not sure what ball he's using, but he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of strength. If you see his biceps, they are absolutely huge. Chris Vi, I've got to spend a little time with him. Very engaging individual, very nice, got a great game. He's already got a major to his credit, and he's won a few other titles. He was gonna run over Andrew because of ball reaction. I mean, that looked pretty good. That was high flush. After the video you had with your driller, I wondered if you had a specific layout. Great question. So the answer to that is no. I still play around with layouts. I'm fortunate enough to be able to get a few balls that I can play with. Matter of fact, the video I shot yesterday, I brought out a ball that I put a very weird layout. Now, I don't know numbers of layouts, so I'm sorry about that. I have one layout that I use most often, which is a stronger layout, pin up. And then I have multiple balls that are drilled pinned down that I move my thumb further and further away from the mass bias. You'll see this video again. It'll be 1st of April when it'll come out. So it's going to be some time. But we kicked the thumb so far from the mass bias that I've actually drilled my thumb through the label of the bowling ball. So if you were to look at my label, it has my thumb hole right kind of on the corner of it. So no, I don't have any standard layouts. I'm still playing around with things. I use different layouts. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second now, again, I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble. But I'm going to say it anyway. I'm sorry I'm pausing. I just want to say this the right way. Symmetric balls and asymmetric balls. I do have a specific drill pattern for a symmetric ball, but for asymmetric balls, I have one that I like for pin up, and then for my pin down, I've been playing a lot with them because, in my opinion, with my lower rev rate, asymmetric balls tend to move very similarly ball to ball. I call them, what Bill calls them, is a lollipop of different flavors. They look a little different. They move not dramatically different from each other because of my lower rev rate. And so when I drill them, I try to drill them in such a way that I can get something different out of the bowling ball. So when I'm trying to fill spots in my arsenal, I want some that are drilled with my thumb close to the mass bias. I'll have some that are drilled with my thumb in the middle between the mass bias and where the label is typically engraved in there. And then I've got some that I drill with my thumb kicked way away from the mass bias. And I do that to give me different looks and different shapes. The further I go away from the mass bias, the smoother the ball is, but the longer it goes. And so I tend to have several different views of that when I go pin down. When I go pin up, I have tried to kick my thumb away from the mass bias with a pin up version, and it doesn't really work for me. So most of my pin up drillings look very, very similar, except if you look at my Black Widow 3.0. That one is completely different because that ball was notorious for being very, very early. And so I needed a ball because I already had an Envy that I liked that I could put surface on that was drilled normal pin up. I wanted something that was a big cover that would get down the lane a little bit further. So I drilled this 3.0 to go down the lane a little bit further, and then I polished it. Not really polished it. I hit with a 3 or 4,000, and then I've just left it there and kept it lane shined. And then that ball will get down the lane a little bit further and act a little bit more like a pearl. So instead of going from an Envy, a big Envy, to a big pearl, I've got this 3.0 that I can go to that's kind of somewhere in the middle. So that was a very long answer to a very short question. So no, and one of the things I would encourage you to do, if you're not liking your layout, find one of your old bowling balls and an old ASIM and have it plugged and have it drilled a different way. And then if you don't like the way that ball is moving, plug it again, drill it again, completely different, until you find a layout that is getting that particular ball to do what you want that ball to do, and it becomes a what you want to see out of a bowling ball. For me, I can't drill a ball like Steph drills his balls. He has a lot more rev rate than I do, and so my ball moves much differently than his does. And kind of the whole reason why I started this channel in the beginning is because I would look at these ball reviews and go, "Oh, I want a ball drilled like that because I want my ball to do what Chris Barnes' ball does." And so I would drill a ball, the same ball that he had, drill it the way he drilled it, and throw it, and it looked awful. And so I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I went, well, this is stupid. I don't throw it like those guys. Never going to throw it like those guys. I'm a stroker in general. I'm trying to work on that, but in general, I'm a stroker. And so my ball doesn't move like that. And so I've worked really hard to drill different things, different ways, to try to find a drill pattern that I like. I have found one for my pin up. That way, when I get a new ball, I know how I want that one drilled. But my pin down stuff, I'm still kind of playing with. I like pin down. Tends to really work well for me. The balls I threw on Thursday night, if you see that video, that Mania was pin up and the Angler was pin up, and they're drilled nearly identical. It's just the Mania was just much stronger. I want to be Chris Vi when I grow up. Yeah, well, takes going into the gym, my friend. My daughter, she'll hate me for saying this. She has a crush on Chris Vi. I think it's the guns. Okay, or do the drillers have kind of a standard layout? They shouldn't. They better not. I think you will find, and I've had some experience with this, working with some kids. When I went to Junior Gold with my daughter, she made friends with some kids there, and man, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take a sip here. And one specific girl, her name is Layla, and they became really good friends. And I noticed that she was having trouble with her thumb, and my first inclination is that she needed to get her span and everything rechecked. And she was telling me that I asked her if she had her positive access point, PAP, and she had no idea what that was. And so I said, well, go ask your ball driller if you can get your PAP. And if we had that, then maybe I could help you down the road. And actually, we had planned, I flew her to our town so she could spend some time with my daughter. And in between there, I had her send me the drill sheet and her PAP, which her ball driller didn't know how to get. And so I couldn't drill anything for her. So when she came here, dadgummit, I'm sorry. When she came here, I had Stefan look at her, and he worked really hard and drilled a ball for her. And she took that back home with her. We drilled a Motive Venom Shock, and she took that home with her and had the biggest series she's ever had. I apologize. And the layout on the ball that she had was kind of just a standard layout. I apologize. So the layout we put on Venom Shock was completely different, and it really worked well for her. And she had a very good series when she got back home. So I am hopeful that if you go to a pro shop that they don't have a standard layout, that they know how to find your PAP, positive access point. Let's talk about that for just a moment. Man, I'm already at an hour. Positive access point. So the positive access point is the point in which when you do a standard release that your ball spins around. And it can only be determined in the first few feet of when you release the ball, because as soon as the ball is down the lane a little bit, and if it hits any dry, it will change that positive access point. But that is the point in which you have your bowling ball spinning around when you release the ball. So if you do not know that in relation to your center of gravity and your mass bias and the pin, there is no way to drill that ball where it will do exactly what you want that ball to do or maximize the abilities of that bowling ball. So I get mine checked about every year. I check my own sometimes. The way I do it is I throw a bowling ball and look and see where my ball is spinning around. I'll put a piece of tape, white tape on it, and then video myself in the first few feet of me rolling the ball down the lane. As long as that piece of tape stays static and doesn't move around the bowling ball as it's traveling down, if it just stays static and the ball spins around that point, that single point, then you found your positive access point. And then you just measure that from the center of your span. And that's how you determine what your ball is spinning around, the positive access point. And then from there is where you do your layouts. So if you have not had your positive access point checked, you need to make sure you get that done before you drill any bowling balls. If you've been bowling for quite some time and you want to maximize what that ball can do, you want to make sure that they have that number, because everything stems from that positive access point. We don't do either. We just get what we get, I suppose. Wasn't it back in the old days where you couldn't have more than 1 ounce of imbalance in any area of the ball and still stay legal? That is absolutely right. Back then we didn't have weight blocks. We had a weight block. It was a pancake. It was it looked like a pancake, and it sat on the top of the ball. And then there was a point on the top of the ball, which was the center of the pancake, which would have been the center of gravity of the top part of the ball, not the ball itself. And so you couldn't have any side weight. Now you can pretty much drill a ball any way you want to with whatever side weight you wanted. One of the things that you would do if you went to nationals is you would try to get that 1 ounce of side weight in such a place where that point would help you hook the ball a little bit more. But if it came up more than 1 ounce, then they would poke a hole in the opposite side to get your ball to be more square. And that became a weight hole, which are not allowed anymore. If you have a hole in a ball, you have to be able to stick a digit in it. So now the balls are made with what we would consider side weight. They're designed that way. The mass bias is going to show you the point on the ball where the masses of the bowling ball is accumulating. And then the center of gravity is the center point of where that ball, of the weight of that ball, is in the center part of it. And then the mass bias is where all the mass congregates. It's the heaviest part of the bowling ball is in that area. So side weight is not as big an issue as it used to be. Not sure. We're going to get in the weeds here, but I'm not sure I totally am in favor of as much side weight as you can actually put on a ball. But if you look at my Purple Hammer symmetrical ball, it's got a lot of side weight to it. the center of gravity on my Purple Hammer is way to the left, so it's got a lot of side weight on it. I have to. Um, um, I want my Purple Hammer to actually hook. When I did the video about the Purple Hammer, and for general purposes, on people that are over 50 with a little lower ball speed with enough rev rate to make a ball hook, you certainly don't want to max out the total amount of that bowling ball. You kind of want to tame that thing down, and I don't want it tame. I need that thing to hook, because I'm only going to throw it in areas that's going to be a sport shot, which is, anything 3-to-1 ratio. And so if that ball goes to the right, I want to give it a chance to hook. And if it goes left, I'm hoping that it'll hook a little early and stay straight. How many games do you and your daughter bowl every week? Together, we bowl 3. She does not practice as much as I do. And to be fair, I only bowl 1 official league a week. When this summer, when I have more opportunity to bowl tournaments, I will be practicing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I don't bowl league in the summer. But when we start kind of in May and April, right now I practice on Tuesdays and I bowl on Thursdays. I do sub. I'm kind of a permanent sub on Monday night, but I don't want to be tied down to a Monday night. So if I don't want to go, or I have something else going, that I don't bowl on Monday night. And but if I want to bowl on Monday night, I just show up, and there's one team that I sub for quite a lot, because they have missing members a lot. And then if I just want to bowl, I just show up on Monday night and bowl. So typically I'm bowling 3 nights, 3 games a week. And then I practice for an hour to an hour and a half on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I don't know how many games I'm getting in. At that point, I'm not keeping score for the most part. I do bowl quite a bit. My guess would be, if you added up all I bowl in a week, well, and then Tuesday nights, I will sometimes bowl with my students when I want to prove to them that I still have it. And I don't know, I'll probably bowl 15 to 20 games a week, something like that. 3 games officially, and sometimes 6 games officially. So, and she doesn't quite practice as much as I do. She bowls 3 games a week. She coaches some of the high school bowlers, so she will bowl with them on Tuesday nights. And so she's probably bowling 6 to 8 games a week. She'll come and practice with me sometimes. But she doesn't like shooting at spares, so she doesn't like working with Dad. So they don't check imbalance anymore. Not that I know of. I haven't bowled nationals in, it's been 2 years since I've bowled nationals, but they're not looking at the ball being balanced, because they can't really do anything about it. They can take a ball out of play. But and I do think they do weigh them, but I think the standards are a lot more lenient now. They're more interested in cover stock and making sure the ball is legal and things of that nature. So I don't think they're checking imbalance anymore, or they're certainly not as stringent about it as they have been, because I did take a Purple Hammer and it had a ton of side weight, and it was not taken out of play. I was a little concerned about a couple of my balls, because I remember those days. Anyway, when I threw 300s back then, they weighed the ball to check that it was checked, and check that the ball was okay and the oil pattern on the lanes. Yes, they did. Back in the old days, when you shot 300, they had to go measure the lanes. And measuring the lanes was to make sure that the lanes were in spec, that the gutters were in spec, the flat gutters were in spec, because there are certain heights that are required on especially the flat gutters. Back in those days, you bowled on wood lanes, and you had to sand those lanes once every year or two. And by sanding those lanes, you would lower the level of the lane to past a level that would be acceptable for the flat gutters. And so you would have to adjust your flat gutters. You would have to pull those things out and then lower them to fit and be in spec. And then you had your ball weighed. Usually the pro shop would do that with the association secretary, and normally the association secretaries, both the WIBC and the ABC, would have to measure the lanes together and certify those lanes again that your 300 was certified. So yeah, it was a whole process. 300s were much more rare than they are today. I wish they weren't as rare for me as they used to be. I mean, they're getting more rare. I have not had my 300 this year. I like having 1 or 2 or 3 a year, and haven't had mine this year. I've had a 299, which was not on me. It was a 10 pin, and it was a good shot. It might have been a little quick. Might have been. And then I've had a 297 this year, I believe. It was either a 298 or 297. I think it was 297. And that one was completely on me. So the brain is an interesting thing. So I got up after 11 in a row, and I stepped on the lane, and I went, okay, I have no miss right. I can't miss right. If I miss right, I'm going to blow through the face. I have missed left. And so if I'm going to miss, let's miss left. So my brain said, if you're going to miss left. And guess what I did? Yeah, I missed left, and not only left of left, but left of left. And I think I left the 136 is what I left. It was awful. Just a bad shot. I think it was a 297. I'd have to look. My phone is somewhere. I'll have to look. I used Pen Pal for that. Yep, they did. They did weigh the pins as well, and those things had to be in spec as well. They used to give rings for 298 and 299. As a matter of fact, hold on one second. So here is, I'm going to show you what a 299 ring looks like. I've got one right here. So this is a 299 ring. Let's see if we can get it in focus. I don't think you can see that. The focus on this is not quite as good, but this is a 299 ring. American Bowling Conference 299 ring. So I do have one of those here in my office. I've got a 300 ring here in my office as well. That was one thing my daughter was super excited about is she's getting an 800 ring. So to go along with her dad's 800 rings. And so and her brother has one as well. So she was happy about that, getting a ring. But yeah, I don't think they do 299s or 298s. They used to give you an award if you left a lily as well. So, and I don't think they do that. And I've seen my fair share of lilies this year. All right, we're an hour and about 15 minutes into this video. We probably do need to wrap it up. If you got any more questions for me, fire them away right now. And yes, I give long answers to short questions. So if you got anything else, you got about 5 minutes, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Appreciate everybody who's come to watch this. We still got the U.S. Open going on in the back. Chris Vi. I did want to talk about Dom, Patrick Dombrowski. I have not been around him at all. He used to not travel on tour quite as much as he is now. He's bowling everything right now. He was an accountant, and I think he's 46 years old. So go old guys. And first time winner on tour. He's got a great game, just a phenomenal game. If you have not watched this, you can find the finals of the U.S. Open. Oh, yeah. Please don't cough or talk when their bowlers are bowling. Dead silent with all these people, and then all of a sudden somebody does something, it really will shake you up. So I'm real happy for Patrick Dombrowski winning the U.S. Open. Your first title being a U.S. Open, and we've got, now on the 3 tournaments so far, we've got 2 brand new tour winners. Bonta won the first one of the year with a 300 in the final game, and now Patrick Dombrowski winning his first title and a major. So beat Anthony Simonson in the finals. Anthony really struggled with Carey, and he was complaining about his ball choices. So, you make a choice and you kind of got to go with it. And see that left lane. I'm telling you, that left lane was tricky. It looked really good in the beginning, but then it really started to break down. Not sure if it's the topography or how they broke down the lanes before they started these matches, but that left lane got really tricky. We have a 299 and 11 in a row award. Well, that's awesome. I do not have a 290. I've got this one, yes, and I shot 299 this year, which you don't get rings for that anymore. So that's kind of cool. I forget who I'm talking to at some point in time. Some of you guys have been bowling a very long time and have gotten really cool stuff over the years, which they, 300s. You used to get on your second 300, they would give you another ring. And I've got one of those in my cabinet over here. And so they don't do that anymore. You have to pay for them at this point. And it's just because too many people are getting 300s these days. 800s are still fairly rare. And to be honest, at this point in my career, I am more happy with my 800s than I am any 300 I shoot, because 300, you got to get lucky. I'm not ever had a 300 where I didn't have 1 or 2 shots that was just complete luck that all the pins fell down. But 800s, you got to be throwing the ball really well to shoot an 800. Why did they outlaw urethane? Oh, I guess we haven't talked about that, and that was one of the things on my list. Urethane is just this controversial topic, which I find humorous. Now, when we were throwing urethane back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't have weight blocks. They had pancakes in them, which it technically is a weight block, but it doesn't really affect the ball roll all that much. And now they're throwing urethane, and they are with weight blocks in them. They're still low flare bowling balls. So I am not completely sure. Well, I know why. They want to outlaw urethane, because at this level, at the pro level, and even at my level, throwing urethane, it's just so stupid. You still have to execute. You still have to make shots, but urethane hooks early, then doesn't hook down lane. So if you can get the ball online early and let that ball just spin in its own oil and roll towards the pins, you can have some big scores, but you're also going to have a ton of 10 pins. That's just the way a urethane ball travels down the lane. Because of the early hook, you're just going to leave some flat 10s. It's just inevitable. So I know they're wanting to get rid of urethane because of all the controversy behind the Purple Hammer and how that ball made bowlers. I could start listing off bowlers, which I will not do, of that ball particularly making their career. And you have not heard much about them since the Purple Hammer has basically been outlawed completely in the PBA. And now I think the USBC is trying out the idea of eliminating urethane completely. The other thing most people are not aware of is that all balls are urethane. The difference between your gem or my Envy and a Purple Hammer is the plasticizer, which gives microscopic little holes in the ball that absorb oil. Urethane balls do not absorb oil. They do pick up oil off the lanes and deposit it somewhere else, which makes the lanes a little trickier as you go along. But they're made of very similar things. And so to answer your question is I think it's just a precursor to eliminating urethane in general, which I don't agree with. And I would, because I'm good with it. I mean, I can throw reactive too, but I do like patterns that have to throw urethane because they hook and then they roll. Pretty darn simple. Then I just got to make sure I'm getting it to hook in the roll in the right spot, and you still have to make shots. It's not like I can close my eyes and throw a Purple Hammer down the lane and strike every time. That's ridiculous. You still have to get it online, but pros are so good about their misses, which they don't miss very often. If they miss, they're missing on launch angle and not really missing their target that much. They're just missing which direction they're launching it to. And when you're that accurate, urethane becomes a great help and a great tool to use to get high scores. So the funny thing was, in the US Open, pro said, fine, okay, we can't use urethane. Give me my plastic balls. So they whipped out their plastic balls and they tore up a pattern that was completely designed to take urethane out of play in the first place, and ended up destroying it anyway. And these guys were so good that the carry down from the plastic, the guys that could think through that process did the best, and they threw urethane, I think, for 8 games. It was absolutely crazy. Since 1974, I bowled with a guy that got a 300 watch. He would get a new diamond chip for every 300 after that. Well, that's really cool. I didn't know about that. Thanks for that information. They used to give 1 ring per season, never bowled 2 in the same season. Didn't know that either. I might have been out of the game when that was going on. I'm not sure my dad ever bowled 2 in a season either. He had several. They called him Mr. 300 in the areas where he bowled. And he wasn't even the best bowler in the family. That would be my mother. She was phenomenal. She never had a 300 game. 279, I think, was her high game. But she had, I think, back in the 70s or early 80s, she had a 780 series, which I think was gigantic back then. So, and I didn't have my first 300 until, I left the game for a number of years and came back. Well, again, 70s and 80s. All right. Well, my dad got a ring, but he never got a watch. So I did not know that. I mean, he bowled in the 70s, 80s. Well, my father bowled up until he passed away. So we're getting really close. Appreciate the comments and the questions. Two other things that I want to go over before I leave. Today I went over 3,000 subscribers, which thank you guys so much for subscribing. Means a lot to me. And so in honor of that, Ice Gear has got something special going on. I put a shirt on Ice Gear that is the No Excuses Throw It Better Club shirt. And so if you want that shirt, it's normally $20. It's on sale for $15. But if you use code 3000, 3000, will not also knock off the shipping off of every one of those shirts that you buy. So go to icegear.shop. You'll see it's the very first thing on the list, the Throw It Better Club. No excuses. It only comes in blue with a black imprint. You purchase that shirt. We're going to knock $5 off the shirt, and I'm going to ship it to you for free. So if you want one of those shirts, make sure you get over there because we are going to be limited in sizes that we have. So go ahead and get that done. And yeah, Big Johnson, this is funny. I had the nickname of Mr. 279, bowled over 100 of them. Only 6 300s. Hey, 6 300s, that's still great. And a lot of 279s. 279s are something I don't keep track of my 300s, but I do keep track of my 279s because I want to prove how much of a mental midget I am. And I just had I missed my 279 on Thursday. I think the week before that, I shot 279, which would have been my 48th 279 in the last 6 years. So that with definitely not that many 300s. Again, I have not had one this year. So 48 279s. So I guess you could call me Mr. 279 too, or what I call myself, which is mental midget. One last thing that happened to me this week that I find fun, I just wanted to mention. If you have Bowl TV on match play day number 1, the main channel, they had Mike Albee on, and one of my students who's already graduated, he actually works in the TV Pro Shop, Theory versus Skill Pro Shop, came to me on I guess it was on Saturday, and said that he was watching the telecast on Bowl TV with Mike Albee, and he was showing pictures of various pros, and he had this picture of Chris Schenkel with a leaderboard in the background, and it had Roth and Durbin on it and a few other guys. And then they read down the list a little bit and came across a guy by the name of Alan Berger. And he knew that I had placed really high in Coca-Cola Nationals when I was a senior in high school. So he thought that was the leaderboard that he was reading from. And turns out that's not where he was reading from. That was a tournament back in the early 80s where they picked some of the best youth bowlers in the country and pitted them up against the pros. And we had a chance to bowl on TV. And we were handicapped. We got a handicap. I think it was of 200, 90% of 200. And some of the best bowlers in the states were all transported up somewhere in the northeast. I believe it was in Indianapolis, and we got to bowl against the pros. And I think I finished 5th or 6th in that. I don't remember because as a kid, you don't win. You try to put it out of your mind. You remember your wins, sort of, and your losses you don't remember as much. And that one, I think, hit me pretty hard. So I really kind of put it out of my mind. So I don't know where I placed, but my name was on the list with these. And the whole point was Chris Schenkel was in the building and getting ready for the telecast. And this picture of him with this scoreboard in the background. My student thought, well, I've always told him I was a good bowler back in my youth, but I don't think he believed me until he heard my name being broadcast on Bowl TV. So that was kind of fun. Okay, that was a comment. Big Johnson, you're going to share it. I appreciate that. To be honest, Big Johnson, I don't want to be known as Mr. 279. And I don't want to be known as a mental midget either. So anyway, so if you have Bowl TV, go back and check that out. If you want to hear my name, I thought it was cool. I recorded it from the TV telecast. Well, again, I need to get off this because y'all don't really care. But what was interesting to him was that, and I forgot the guy's name from Inside Bowling that's doing the Bowl TV stuff now. Its name slips me. I'm getting old. He's trying to read my name and can't read my name, and I think you can only see partial of it. And Mike Albee goes, "Well, that's Alan Berger," and I thought that was really kind of cool. One of these days, I'll have to tell you the story about me and getting to bowl with Mike Albee, which, he's got a bunch of titles, and Hall of Fame. And he's doing a lot of work for the Bowling Hall of Fame right now down in Arlington. And so I just thought it was neat that he remembered my name. So, all right, it's we've been on for an hour and a half. I do appreciate your time. I'm glad you guys watched. We had a few people on the live stream. I'm going to try to do this as much as I possibly can, and it will be on Wednesdays. Mondays I bowl. Sometimes Tuesdays I'm working with the kids. Wednesday I kind of have off. Thursday I bowl. Friday it's Friday. I don't want to do it on Friday. So if I have any time at all, it'll be on Thursdays. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've heard that Mike Albee's got a school now. And is that in the Dallas area? I mean, I don't know where he's living right now. So, I mean, he was up in for the U.S. Open up in Indianapolis. So I don't know where his school is, and he's traveling around. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. I hope I was somewhat entertaining tonight. And if I can do another live stream next Wednesday, it'll be during the day. I'll post that I'm going to be on. I can't do this consistently yet, and I hope to be a little bit more consistent in the future. And I appreciate you guys being here. This is Bowling Over 50. We have another video coming out on Friday. Don't forget to go to icegear.shop and pick up one of those Throw It Better Club shirts. You can get it for $15, shipping included, and they're limited. So pick one up. Once they're gone, they're gone. And then we will watch the video on Friday, and then we have another one coming out next Tuesday. And so we were going to be moving our videos to come out on Tuesdays and Fridays now instead of Mondays and Fridays. And I shot a video with my daughter, and she's wanting me to make sure that that's the next one posted. So I'm going to see what I can do about that. But the one coming on Friday is a great drill, good thing to work on. So watch that. Give us a subscribe if you haven't done that. Subscribe to our channel. We're at 3,000, but on our way to 60,000. That's kind of what my goal for this channel should be. Worldwide, there's got to be 60,000 bowlers over 50, or new bowlers that are trying to learn some things, or even some intermediate bowlers that want to pick up a few little tidbits every now and then. I tried to do that, trying to work back from the foul line, and we'll eventually get to the approach, which is on the schedule, and then we'll move back to the foul line again. And in between, I'll be throwing in some games. So again, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. This is Bowling Over 50. You have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and if your kids are on spring break coming up, happy spring break. Have a good time. Go to the bowling center, support your local proprietors, and throw some rocks down the lane. It's a lot of fun. Y'all have a nice night. Almost crossed it over, almost gets an incredible break, but still pretty